Right, so just spontaneously sparked some thoughts about identity, death, Mike Levin. So I'm just going to just bash them out there quickly. Um, so what's the traditional way of viewing our identity? And it's we at least think, or I would suggest that the sort of mainstream view is that we're like a kind of space-time sausage, kind of moving through the space-time continuum. And it's like a sort of stick of rock that says, say, Matt, all the way down. Right. So there's this continuing concrete form that I refer to as myself. Right. And that is why, I, and seeing it in that way means that death is like the end of that space-time sausage, right? Or meatloaf, I think I've heard it called. And that's painful. But if that's not really the case, so if, for example, I am, the idea of this sausage is actually what's really going on is a separate bunch of re-rendered sort of self-models according to what data's been retained from previous self-models and so on. But it's a constant reconstruction. If that's the case, then there is no real continuing identity. There's no sticker rock that says Matt all the way down. And that's liberating because you think that, well, there's less impact, really, on my situation if my situation is not as concrete as it seems. Yeah. So that's really interesting. So what did he say exactly? He said it's an agent that's closed the loop in Hofstadter's sense, right? So that loop closing is this sense in which, what does that mean? It's this idea that there's all these other models that this entity Matt needs to manage, right? So there's all these things around me that I have to relate to spatially, informationally, contextually, culturally, and so on. And the one thing that persists throughout all of those is, this agent, right? And that's why it seems like there's some sort of continuity, because I can see my own arms and I can feel these familiar sensations in my body, sort of aches and pains and stuff that I identify with this body. And it's those continuing sort of self-model sensations, if you like, that suggest the presence of this continuing single identity, when in fact there isn't really one, right? There is just a little bit of intelligence or a bit of nature, depending on the sort of language that you're using. Talking to Bill Mensch, he mentioned the idea that intelligence manifests through us. So there's this kind of foliation of complexity according to the desire of, is it desire or the tendency, at least, of this thing called intelligence, this compound array of little wiggles, is just doing, right, for reasons that we probably can't really penetrate into. But we can there are some clues, as Bill suggested, that just look around at the things that nature is doing, look at things that we've been doing. Our construction of microprocessors, things 6502, the way we automate stuff, the way we try to complexify and increase novelty and so on and so forth. So there are clues, and perhaps some kind of meta-analysis, systematic review of that is what's called for. But then isn't that biology? I'm not sure. So anyway, just some reflections on this. There's obviously more thought to be done, but the whole idea of personal identity is conceived by philosophers, just seems to be under a sort of bombardment of actual scientific findings, and that, is that not the case elsewhere as well?